Welcome to Myrna and Jenn Read the Apocrypha. We come together, have great discussions here about the Apocrypha, which neither of us have actually fully read, right, Myrna?
No, I have
No,
not.
we have not. And so this is an adventure for us, and we say, come with us on this adventure. Right now, we're currently reading in Jubilee chapter 16. We have videos all the way up to this point, as well as for Adam and Eve, their life. View, like, subscribe, all those wonderful things. And we're happy to have you with us today. So let's jump back in. Yes, we love you guys. So let's jump back in to Jubilee and see what is currently happening with Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah at this point have been told that they will have a son, Isaac.
Wait. Can I mention something that came to my mind last video? Sorry.
Of course. No sorries allowed.
I didn't mention it, but I think it's very significant that Adam, not Adam, I always say that. I can't count with myself. Abraham and Sarah got the names Abraham and Sarah. And I think that we need to remember that possibly what we were reading, and I believe it to be true, is they were having a temple experience with God.
Yes.
And that is why they got their new names.
Yes.
And the joy of it is that we now get to have that same temple experience. And in the way that we do it in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we receive a new name that is not used in this life. It will be used in the next. And so this is the same thing that we were seeing happening to Abraham and Sarah, is they were having a temple experience. And I think it's interesting, if we take the time, we can see temple experiences in different places in the scriptures, if we will think about the different things and the different opportunities that we have in the temple. So I just wanted to bring that out again. Sorry.
No, that's really great, because I totally read it that way. Yeah. Whenever somebody gets a new name from God, and it's not just Abraham and Sarah that have had that happen to them.
Right.
I'm going to use the word that kind of triggers me in going, oh, there's something akin to a temple ceremony happening here. They don't talk all the way through it, but that type of thing is occurring.
Well, and I think they don't call them temple ceremonies like we do, because they're a natural part of their life, right? And so I don't think they totally separate it out of what is the other things that are happening in their life, because they lived very much in a religious society more so than we do.
Right.
Anyway, I just wanted to remind that of that. Yeah.
Well, and even in this moment with when they get their new names, then they're told, and you'll have a son, and name him Isaac.
Yeah.
And so part of me is like, oops, did you guys jump the gun? And because he took Hagar to wife, basically, and had Ishmael. So there's been a little bit here with that, and I think we're going to be digging in as we go forward a little more with what's going to happen to those two kids and the people and all of those things. Society is going to have something to say about this.
Yeah.
So all right, here we go into chapter 16, 1-3. And on the new moon of the 4th month, we appeared unto Abraham at the oak of Mamre, and we talked with him, and we announced to him that a son would be given to him by Sarah his wife. And Sarah laughed, for she heard that we had spoken these words with Abraham, and we admonished her, and she became afraid, and denied that she had laughed on account of the words. And we told her the name of her son, as his name is ordained and written in the heavenly tablets, i.e. Isaac. Okay, So
Well,
one,
that's like a natural reaction, wouldn't it
yes.
be? To kind of
Yes,
laugh?
because
Yeah,
we know
right.
that at this point that I think it said in the numbers, he's like 100 and she's like in her 80s or something.
I
Like
thought she was in her early 90s.
early 90s. Like, come
Yeah.
on, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I would laugh. I would laugh as a woman. I'd be like,
Oh,
what
absolutely.
is, yeah, that's funny. My womb, it is completely barren, dried up.
Yeah.
It's a raisin now.
I mean, yeah, I mean, how many times? Okay, so we're getting a little real here, but how many times have they had relations and nothing has come from it?
A lot.
How hard would it be to say, sure, that's gonna happen,
Right.
right? I mean, I'm sorry if you just
Lord.
jumped at that.
The Lord can do
You'd
all
have to
things.
have way too much faith.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
saying.
The Lord
there's
can
no-
do all things, but really, that one? Like,
Well, I would think, yeah, the Lord could do it, but I would think,
yeah,
well, I would think it would have happened by now.
yeah,
So maybe,
I know.
Actually, I probably would say, well, what did I do wrong that it didn't happen yet? Right? That would be where Myrna would go, because that's the craziness of Myrna. But I think that it's kind of a natural thing to say, yeah, right. Do you remember how these bodies work? They don't work like yours, you know?
Right? We're a bit old for this. We're a bit
so
old.
I don't think we need to judge her for that. I think it would be a natural reaction.
It'd be a complete natural reaction. And I love too that we're still here at the Oak of Memory. Like, we're still in that location of the land that they were given. That was one of the boundaries, this big oak.
Yeah.
The other thing too here is, and on we appeared under Abraham. Who's the we?
The Watchers.
The Watchers, right?
I don't know what other name to give them, because I'm assuming they were angels or whatever, or that were sent down by
messengers.
God. Yeah, messengers
sent
from
by God.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this whole we here, and they did admonish her, but did you like what her response is? I didn't laugh.
What are you talking about? I didn't laugh. What do you mean?
What are you talking about? I didn't laugh. Hello, Sarah. You laughed. I like this because it gives that idea that none of us are perfect. Even she in the moment is like, what do you mean? I didn't laugh. Yeah, you laughed. And yet she got the new name, and she's been told she's going to have Isaac. Like, this is a powerful thing. And yet there are these areas where it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be human in moments that we have no idea how to handle. And I don't think she knew how to handle that.
No, and I think that it shows her. It shows a little part of her that we can connect to, because we really don't hear that much about the women.
No.
But here's a little piece that shows us that she's just like us.
Right. Just like us.
Right. So, I mean, I when I ended up pregnant, I was like, because I got pregnant, I just couldn't carry him. But when finally we went past the point, I was like, oh, I'm kind of old to be doing this. You know, because I'm like, I see my sisters and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of work. And then I'm like, oh, I'm like way older than they were when they started doing this stuff.
Yes.
So I can see how she would think that way. And, you know, it just shows her a normalcy to
a normal woman going, what? The other thing here that I thought was interesting is, and his name is ordained and written in the heavenly tablets. Interesting. I don't know what heavenly tablets are. The stars, the sky, the
scriptures tell us that they're keeping records.
Yeah, records on. That's a good point, Myrna. I wasn't even thinking that. Yeah, possibly the records on the other side, your book of life kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or could God have the plan all written out?
Yeah, right. The main outline
of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Because it says that some things we are foreordained to do.
Yes.
Right.
But not every decision
But
every
not
day.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Right.
Some interesting starts to this.
Yeah. Okay.
Continue on.
All right. And when we returned to her at a set time, she would have conceived a son. And in this month, the Lord executed his judgments on Sodom and Gomorrah and Zebulun and all the region of the Jordan, and he burned them with fire and brimstone and destroyed them until this day, even as I have declared unto thee all their works, that they are wicked and sinners exceedingly, and that they defile themselves and commit fornication in their flesh and work uncleanliness on the earth. And in like manner, God will execute judgment on the places where they have done according to the uncleanliness of the Sodomites, like unto the judgment of Sodom.
All right. That was switching gears.
Wow. Okay.
So she's told, when we return to her at a set time, she would have conceived a son. So there you go. And now it's about Sodom and Gomorrah.
Exactly. It just,
there was no segue.
We just jumped into fire and brimstone.
Fire, brimstone, and it gets destroyed because they are wicked. Boom. Gone.
Okay, let's talk about verse 6, though. And in like manner, God will execute judgment on the places where they have done according to the uncleanliness of the Sodomites, like unto the judgment of Sodom. So I'm assuming, this is what I'm taking from this, tell me if I'm wrong, is that there are other places that are unclean like unto Sodom that will be destroyed also.
That is what that is saying. That when you're doing the things that they did in Sodom and Gomorrah, the same judgment will come upon you at some point.
See, I never ever thought of that condemnation on Sodom and Gomorrah being a promise to all places that are like unto it.
And now we know why in the last days the whole earth will burn.
Yeah.
Because they were going to be like Sodom and Gomorrah all over the place.
So that's well, it needs to be burned to be baptized, to have it, to receive the Holy Ghost, so to speak.
Yes, it does. But for a moment there, it was putting those two together, going, oh, that makes a little more sense as well. In that the last days, it's going to be so prolific and so evil and all those things that there, in at least here in the Jubilee, it is stating that will be something that happens to other places. Interesting.
Okay, now as I read this, I'm not so sure that they're all going to have fire and brimstone. It just says, and in like manner, God will execute judgment on the places where they have done according to uncleanness of Sodomites. It doesn't specifically say that it will be the same, but like
unto. So that could be broad. The idea is that it gets destroyed.
Yes, right? I was just going to say that. I think the whole concept is that
it gets destroyed.
The place is destroyed, and there's no further life in that area. Okay, so
7.
Wow. Okay.
But Lot we saved, for God remembered Abraham and sent him out from the midst of the overthrow. And he and his daughters committed sin upon the earth, such as had not been on the earth since the days of Adam till his time. For the man lay with his daughters. And behold, it was commanded and engraven concerning all his seed on the heavenly tablets, to remove them and root them out, and to execute judgment upon them like the judgment of Sodom, and to leave no seed of the man on earth on the day of condemnation.
All right, we got to break this one down.
So we are getting, in the King James Version of the Bible, this is way more drawn out in storytelling. This is like the mega bullet point highlights reel. So Sodom and Gomorrah is being destroyed, and we know that Lot was there. And that Lot leaves, according to the Bible, and his wife turns back and turns into a pillar of salt. That's what we think of when we think of Lot, right?
Yeah.
And it says that Lot was saved.
Because of Abraham.
Because of Abraham. Because,
well, remember in the story, God,
Lot's dad was killed.
No, but I mean, in the Bible, wasn't that where? No, I'm thinking of the wrong story. I was thinking of the one that if they could find even just one good man.
Nope,
I think that's a different story. Okay, never mind.
Well, and Abraham had killed, in essence, Lot's father, had burned a building down, and the guy was in it. And so he kind of took Lot like a son. And so for Abraham's sake, he was saved. But is this then saying that, well, Lot being in Sodom and Gomorrah, that he laid with his daughters? He had sex with his daughters?
I don't know, because I'm kind of wondering if something is left out. Because here it says, but Lot was saved. For God remembered Abraham and sent him out from the midst of the overthrow. Now, so Lot was sent out, right, from Sodom and Gomorrah. Then it says, and he and his daughters committed sin upon the earth. Is that why he was sent? It doesn't really clearly say this is why he was sent out.
No.
But he was the only one saved. His daughters were not saved. So when was this? And he and his daughters committed sin upon the earth, such as had not been on the earth since the days of Adam till his time. For the man lay with his daughters. I'm wondering if they're just talking about what is happening in the town.
Maybe. I am really quickly looking up the King James Bible version and seeing what it says in that space. Because I'm just interested in what we have kind of been raised with, Myrna, in our growing up sphere versus what we're reading here in the Apocrypha.
Yeah, I don't think they really went into detail other than that they committed whoredoms. But the order that this is in doesn't make sense,
right?
Because if they are talking about Lot, then he has been sent out and he's still committing whoredoms with his daughters. But his daughters are, if he had daughters, they are still in Sodom and Gomorrah. He's the only one, the family that was saved. So the order is not making sense to me unless they're just kind of talking about what is happening in the city. Does that make sense?
Right.
So what does it say we actually read?
So in Genesis chapter 19, I'm just kind of skimming through. Lot is in Sodom, and their house, Lot's house, ends up surrounded by a bunch of guys in the area. And they saw some people enter, and according to this, it's two angels. So they see two guys walk in, and they're saying, "Hey, come on, who's in there?" And they turn And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out of his door and shut the door after him and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. I do not remember this, Myrna. This is not the
I
story.
remember this, but I don't remember it being part of the Lot story. But I
Yes.
do remember this story.
So he basically is offering up his 2 daughters
Yeah.
to this group of
Okay.
men.
Can I just say,
Uh-huh.
the men are kind of babies.
I
mean, I'm just like, okay, don't kill me, but have my daughters. The one said, don't kill me. You can have my wife. I mean, it's like
well, and it's specifically,
I thought they were tougher than that.
Do to my daughters whatever you will, but unto these 2 men, these angels that came under my roof, you don't do anything. So you offer up your virgin daughters to save the angels? They're angels of God. Like, I don't understand.
Like, they can't hurt them.
You would
So
think
why
you
are you worried? Why would you worry about?
I don't know. Well, they were
right,
in
well.
human form to be able to come into his house and eat.
But
Because
yeah,
that's what they did.
yeah.
They came in and they were going to eat the feast.
That has to be what they're talking about, because
okay, this Lot story, Myrna, is blowing my mind.
So
they're smashing in at the door. And apparently the men are given blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to even find the door. So the angels are like, you're blind. And they just keep saying, get anyone there that's out of your house. Like, we want to see all of them. And eventually, he told his kids that were married, get up out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-laws. And when the morning arose, when the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. Okay. And they were going to escape for their life. So it doesn't really seem in this account that there is that he lay with his daughters, but he offered his daughters up to protect the angels in the biblical account. That's some craziness happening. And then they were just literally almost transported outside the city.
Okay.
Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters. That's quite the action happening.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of shit's going on, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
I know, right?
Okay, so this is not written very well.
Right. Which is why the biblical account I could see would become canon and this not. The other one is much more describing the situation than a couple of sentences here.
Well, it makes more sense, but
it makes more sense, yes.
But then it also loses a lot of stuff too.
Yeah. So, okay. And of course, what we all remember Lot for is his wife turned back and became a pillar of salt.
Yeah, and this discussion doesn't have anything to do with it.
Nope, she's not even mentioned.
At least not so far. Maybe.
Right, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know where we're going now.
Okay. Well, Lot has left the area. Lot has left where he was.
Sodom and Gomorrah, and Sodom and Gomorrah have burned.
Yep.
And there's no seed of man on earth on the day of condemnation. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
It was
Yeah.
wiped out.
It was. Okay.
Okay. Verse 10.
And in this month, Abraham moved from Hebron and departed and dwelt between Kadesh and Sur in the mountains of Gerar. And in the middle of the 5th month, he moved from thence and dwelt at the well of the oath. And in the middle of the 6th month, the Lord visited Sarah and did unto her as he had spoken, and she conceived. What? Okay. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was coming out of the loins of Abraham.
Yeah. Well, that is a good question because here we go. So the Genesis version says, and the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age at the set time of which God had spoken to him. It sounds salacious the way it's written here.
Yeah, I think it's probably just that the Lord visited him and said, "It's time, get busy."
Well, and
it happened.
there had to be something that happened to Sarah's womb, right?
Yeah,
To be able to carry the child. So the Lord preparing her womb to receive and do it sounds a little more like it, but otherwise it sounds like, not gonna lie, you read that and it sounds like God got Sarah pregnant.
Yeah. Well, in a way, he kind of did. He made it happen.
He made it happen, right?
He made it happen, however that is. But
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I went up here to this well of the oath.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I looked that up. And I guess Abraham had a fight with a Abelish.
Oh.
And it is a well that is close to Beersheba. And Abraham dug that well. And then at the well, he settled his dispute with Abelish.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a feast at the well. And so that therefore the well became known as the oath, the well of oath. In other words, they made a commitment to each other that they would not continue to fight.
Abelish was the guy that stole Sarah for a time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
So Abelish is the one who stole Sarah, and in getting her back and stuff, that must have been where they kind of sat down, broke bread, and which is a kind of an oath there.
Finished the transaction, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Of moving past it all.
Yeah. All right.
So interesting. So these are definite land spots, the oak tree of Mamre, the well of the oath. And it's so interesting because I didn't know these spots fully existed.
Oh, neither did I.
So I find it very interesting that there are such landmarks. Okay.
There would have to be because we're talking distance, man.
Well, they had a lot of distance to travel a lot of times, and you got to know where you're going out there.
Yeah, there has to be landmarks. All right.
Mm-hmm. So 13.
Okay.
And she bare a son in the 3rd month, and in the middle of the month, at the time of which the Lord had spoken to Abraham, on the festival of the first fruits of the harvest, Isaac was born. And Abraham circumcised his son on the 8th day. He was the first that was circumcised according to the covenant which is ordained forever. And and in the 6th year of the 4th week, we came to Abraham to the well of the oath, and we appeared unto him as we had told Sarah that we should return to her, and she would have conceived a son. So it worked. She conceived a son. I find it interesting that Isaac was the first to be circumcised as a child after the covenant had been done, and all of the circumcision happened out amongst his people.
Yeah, he must be the first baby.
Yeah, the first baby done.
I think it's interesting how in 12,
Mhm.
it said in the 6th month, the Lord visited Sarah and did unto her, and she conceived. And then it said in the 3rd month, she bare a son.
Mhm.
That's 9 months if you go by a
Oh,
total.
yeah, you're right. It is.
So now we're seeing a regular time frame of birth,
Birth's taking 9 months.
of con, uh, growing
Conceive,
baby
growing a baby in you. Which
takes.
fits because at this point, the time thing happened.
Yeah. Where before they were just spitting them out and they were walking.
Yeah, that's the way it kind of read. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then remember God came down and set
Set the seasons and times in motion.
in an organization. He
Organized
organized time,
it.
basically.
Right. Before then, it seemed a little wonky, and now it's
I think that's interesting that it is now 9
yeah,
months.
because now it's how we recognize it, right?
Right.
Okay, cool.
That's cool.
16.
So they said they would come back, and so okay.
And they're
So let's
coming.
see
They
what
came
happened.
back.
And we returned in the 7th month and found Sarah with child before us, and we blessed him, and we announced to him all the things which had been decreed concerning him, that he should not die till he should beget 6 sons more, and should see them before he died, but that in Isaac should his name and seed be called, and that all the seeds of his sons should be Gentiles and be reckoned with the Gentiles, but from the sons of Isaac one should become a holy seed and should not be reckoned among the Gentiles. For he should become the portion of the Most High, and all his seed had fallen into the possession of God. For it should be unto the Lord a people for his possession above all nations, and that it should become a kingdom and priests and a holy nation. So are we talking about the Levites?
It seems that way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I read that there should be one in there that would stay holy.
So she's saying that Abraham will have, they are saying that Abraham will have 6 more sons. And
That's
he should
what
not
it
die
sounds like.
until he sees them.
Right.
But that his seed will only be recognized through Isaac.
Right. Mm-hmm. The others will be Gentiles. I mean, that one's so interesting to me, Myrna.
Wow.
That one's so interesting to me because, like, how's a father supposed to feel about that? Like, I'm letting you know all of your other children will be Gentiles except for the seed through Isaac. I mean, there are so many parents out there these days who have kids who are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The parents are members, but the children choose to go off, and it doesn't seem that there's a judgment here about it. It's like a matter of fact statement.
Well, what's interesting is they're actually even saying this to Isaac. Would it not be hard as a child and know this stuff to not be a little stinkery to your brothers and sisters?
Maybe it would be hard.
But to know you're the chosen one, so to speak, right?
Yeah, but to me, I'm reading it here as if he got a baby blessing. He had been circumcised, so we don't know fully what age he was, but they said that they came down to see her again. I don't think here, what was that time frame? Oh, in the 6th year of the 4th week.
You're right. It could absolutely be a baby blessing, because I think that one thing we forget, and this is what I'm learning, and as I'm talking to you, that we kind of talked about, is that there are in the scriptures, if you actually look into them, there are ceremonies, temple ceremonies, there are religious ceremonies, there are family father blessings. This could be a baby blessing. You could be absolutely right. We could be seeing the process of a priesthood baby blessing. And so maybe I'm just assuming Isaac is older than maybe he really is.
Because to me, that is exactly how baby blessings, like, they talk about the baby's future. They talk about, because we do blessings in the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints for infants. We declare their name, which is kind of what they did. Like, this is Isaac, and this is what's going to happen further down the road. He's going to have a righteous generation. And just letting you know, Abraham, not all your kids are going to turn out that way. I just kind of like that because it fits. He's been circumcised. They're following the laws that were given them. And now there's a little baby blessing. I don't know what the Jewish tradition fully does at a circumcision, but I know it's a huge event.
Yeah. Okay, so my brain is thinking of this.
Mm-hmm.
In the verse, one of the verses before, we talked about how the Lord came down and did what he needed to Sarah, and she conceived. He absolutely fixed whatever was wrong because she was continued to conceive.
Yeah, she continued to conceive.
It wasn't that just this one child came.
Right.
There was something wrong, and he actually fixed it. A priesthood blessing was given to her, and, and she was fixed.
Right. That tracks for me. Way to put it into like language we would say as members of the church, right?
Well, he's the one that has the priesthood, right? He's the head of the priesthood. So why would he not give priesthood blessings? Why would we think it would be something different? Because also, wouldn't she need some calming, some direction, some comfort, some help in knowing that this is going to be okay? It's really going to happen, right? So I can totally see that being actually just being a father priesthood blessing,
right? With the watcher guys there, the angels there as well.
Well, yeah, whoever's coming was there too, but it did say that the Lord did it. So he was the one that was the voice for the blessing.
Right? So interesting.
I love this.
And
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. If it's a comment about these.
No, I was just saying, well, let's see what happened.
Yeah, okay, let's see what happens. So, and 19?
Yes.
And we went our way, and we announced to Sarah all that we had told him, and they both rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And he built there an altar to the Lord who had delivered him and who was making him rejoice in the land of his sojourning. And he celebrated a festival of joy in this month 7 days near the altar which he had built at the well of the oath. And he built booths for himself and for his servants on this festival. And he was the first to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles on the earth. And the meaning of the Feast of Tabernacles, it's also known as the Feast of Booths, is a Jewish festival that celebrates God's provision and protection. It also commemorates the Israelites' exodus from Egypt and their 40 years in the wilderness. So they use that day as it's a Torah commanded holiday.
Yes, and it's called Sukkot. I have heard that before.
I haven't heard of
in movies. Sukkot. I've heard them say we're celebrating Sukkot, and I didn't know, and so the Feast of Tabernacles never came into my mind. They celebrate 7 days, beginning on the 15th day of the month of Tishri, and it's one of the three pilgrimage festivals. Wow. So I've heard that word before in movies where they are doing religious things, I've heard someone say, "What are you doing?" We're celebrating Sukkot.
So this was the
that's
first
interesting.
instance of it.
Yeah.
And now in Jewish tradition, all activities normally forbidden on Shabbat are also forbidden on the first 2 days of Sukkot, with the exception of cooking, baking, transferring fire, and carrying things around.
All right. Now that is truly interesting because I've heard that word before in the Feast of Tabernacles, and I've heard that multiple times. Right?
And apparently, Feast of Tabernacles is mentioned. I think it's mentioned in John in the New Testament.
Yeah, it's in the New Testament.
So really interesting there. Go figure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Mm-hmm. And during these 7 days, he brought each day to the altar a burnt offering to the Lord: 2 oxen, 2 rams, 7 sheep, 1 he goat. Does that mean a male goat?
Yeah, I guess so.
For a sin offering, that he might atone thereby for himself and for his seed. And as a thank offering, 7 rams, 7 kids, 7 sheep, 7 he goats, and their fruit offerings and their drink offerings. And he burnt all the fat thereof on the altar, a chosen offering unto the Lord for a sweet smelling savor. And morning and evening he burnt fragrant substances, frankincense and galbanum and stacte and nard and myrrh and spice and custom. All these 7 he offered, crushed, mixed together in equal parts and pure. So it is absolutely a feast, right?
Absolutely a feast.
That's a lot of animals.
And it says, did you see it says, and during these 7 days, he brought each day to the altar a burnt offering. Like all of those things he burnt every day. He did have a large flock. But that's a lot to burn for that that offering.
Yeah.
And that galbanum, it's a like a gum resin that comes from roots and stems, but it smells spicy, green, and woody.
Well, frankincense is a gum too, right? Didn't we learn that last time?
Yes, I believe we did learn that last time.
So more like a rub.
Because frankincense, an aromatic gum resin obtained, and myrrh is, I think, really the same type of thing. And apparently, I have no idea how to technically spell myrrh off the top of my head because it's that weird spelling.
M-Y-R-R-H.
M-Y-R-R-H. Is how it's spelled. M-Y-R-R. I was so close. It's also a gum resin. It's used in perfumes, medicines, and incense. So it's so interesting because we get the terms, at Christ's death, frankincense, myrrh, they were brought to him because they have certain aromatic things at a funeral, as they put him in the sepulcher, but we get it at his birth that they were given these as gifts, frankincense and myrrh. There is something interesting in reading the Apocrypha that I've never gotten before, is that there's something about the sweet smelling aroma that's going up to God.
Yeah, sweet smelling savor.
Which I think of God as seeing things, hearing things. He sees me in my life. He hears in my prayers what I'm doing. He knows my thoughts. I hear the whispering of the Spirit. I just don't think of him using his sense of smell or taste.
Right.
And yet at the altar, what are you doing? You are doing smells and food.
Yeah.
it's like he's trying to engage all of our senses.
Yeah.
It's just, I never thought of it that way. So, so interesting.
I didn't either.
Is it my turn here?
It is your turn. 25, my friend.
25. And he celebrated this feast during 7 days, rejoicing with all his heart and with all his soul, he and all those who were in his house. And there was no stranger with him, nor any that was uncircumcised. And he blessed his Creator who had created him in his generation. And for he had created him according to his good pleasure. For he knew and perceived that from him would arise the plant of righteousness for the eternal generations, and from him a holy seed, so that it should become like him who had made all things. And he blessed and rejoiced, and he called the name of this festival, the festival of the Lord, a joy acceptable to the Most High God. Well, this is a Thanksgiving feast per se, like one of just thank you to God, and that his seed will have a righteous element that will allow people to move forward forever and become like God. Beautiful. I'd go to that party.
Yeah.
Except I don't have to worry about being circumcised. I'll just let you know.
Well, you fit the definition of needing to be of being circumcised, because you don't have anything that needs to be circumcised.
Oh, I hadn't quite thought about that, Myrna. You are correct.
So where it says here that there's nor any that was uncircumcised, there were women there.
Yeah. Women don't need to be circumcised. Yep, that's true. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a great party.
Here's a stinker pot in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the only time the men cook? Is when they are
doing the altar, the sacrifices?
Altar, yeah.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
That's interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Anyway, that's a stinkery. That was a stinkery. We know back then that the like in what in the 1800s, the women did most of that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did do. And it's the same back in Bible times,
right?
And so, when they were sacrificing, I can see as being maybe like the only time the men actually cook.
Well, because in essence, that's what they were doing. They were burning all of it, for God.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't like they were actually doing a barbecue.
No, they were not.
Okay. Let's see.
28. Mm-hmm.
And we blessed him forever, and all his seed after him throughout all the generations of the earth, because he celebrated this festival in its season, according to the testimony of the heavenly tablets. For this reason, it is ordained on the heavenly tablets concerning Israel, that they shall celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days with joy in the 7th month, acceptable before the Lord, a statute forever throughout their generations every year. And to this there is no limit of days, for it is ordained forever regarding Israel, that they should celebrate it and dwell in booths and set wreaths upon their heads and take leafy boughs and willows from the brook. And Abraham took branches of palm trees and the fruit of goodly trees, and every day going around the altar with the branches 7 times a day in the morning, he praised and gave thanks to his God for all things in joy.
Okay. I like the association calling it the Festival of the Lord. And it's all about joy.
Yes.
It's all about the joy. Because let's just say the Lord, men are that they might have joy. And in this moment, It's all celebrating it.
Yeah. And I like that again. This is another thing that we have been told that is forever. There's no limit of days.
Right.
It will go forever. It's not going to, it should not ever end, according to.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, what a way to end a chapter.
Wow. Yeah.
Celebration. Celebrate good times.
Come on.
That's the song that like came to me like, and this is literally just to thank the Lord for what he is about to do, not what he has done, by the way.
Yeah.
He is going to have that seed be forever in that righteous place, but it hasn't fully happened yet. So giving thanks to things that we believe will come is a way of giving thanks.
It's an exercise of faith. Too.
It's an exercise of faith in giving thanks. Mm-hmm. The term people use these days would be manifesting it. I'm going to manifest this. And all it is having faith and giving thanks before it happens.
Yeah.
So, interesting. This was fascinating today, Myrna. Oh my gosh. The accounts of Lot and all of that, and Sarah having a kid and saying, by the way, you also have a few more, and celebrating these wonderful bits of joy. But man, you need to have a very large flock to do that for 7 days.
Well, yeah, you you have to have a lot of male.
Yes. Yes.
Goats.
He-goats. A lot of he-goats.
Which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other animals are it's okay if they're female, but the goats can't be. I don't know. That's interesting. I'm assuming it means male goat. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just a term for a goat that's a certain age. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could see you're looking for them.
Well, yeah, I'm just curious on the goats, like what their gestational length is, and it says 150 days, which if we divide it into 3 is like 5 months.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much for everyone who's watching today. I think we got into some great parts here, understanding the celebration that God can heal, and maybe as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, seeing these parts of a baby blessing and being with the priesthood being healed, and those parts that maybe you haven't read into the scriptures, but it is something good to see and look for as we go through the Old Testament and here, mostly through Genesis. And the Jubilees are, in this moment, the Jubilee really does say the word. This was a feast of celebration of Jubilee. Yeah. And I think it's a great thing to be remembered that there are times we need to just be celebrating joy wherever we are. So thank you for listening, and we will see you again next time. All right. And as always, guys, Apocrypha rules. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.